Why do your paintings look flat? In this beginner-friendly lesson, learn how value studies create depth, contrast, and life in your artwork. So first, what is value? Value simply means how light or dark something is. That's it. But that simple idea is incredibly important because value is what helps us see light and shadow, form, depth, mood, and the illusion of three-dimensional objects on a flat piece of paper. Without value, everything starts to look flat. Color is beautiful, but value is what gives a painting structure. It's what makes an apple look round. It's what creates a shadow underneath an object. It's what helps us understand where the light's coming from. One of the biggest mistakes I see beginners make is this: they don't go dark enough. Most beginners stay in the middle values because the dark shadows feel scary. And I get it, especially in watercolor. There's often a fear of putting that deep shadow because it feels like, what if I ruin it? So students tend to focus on the colors instead. But here's the thing. If your values are weak, your painting can still feel flat, even with beautiful color. Strong value creates contrast. Contrast creates depth. And that's where the magic happens. This is why I always teach value studies first in graphite. Because pencil removes the distraction of color. Students can focus on just light, midtones, and dark shadows. And once they begin to see those shapes, something starts to click. They stop drawing things and start seeing relationships of light and dark. For beginners, I like to keep it simple and use a 5-value scale. That gives the lightest light, midtone, dark, and darkest darks. This makes value much easier to understand. Instead of trying to copy every tiny shift, we simplify. And simplification actually helps us exaggerate contrast, which is really useful when you're learning. It also helps students get more comfortable with dark values. And I always remind them, don't be afraid of the dark, because you can't see the light without the darkness. So for this lesson, I started with a simple apple and pear drawing. Then I developed it into a finished graphite value study. And now I'm using that same study to create a monochromatic painting in sepia. Why? Because this bridges the gap between drawing and painting. Instead of worrying about color choices, we can focus entirely on value. Where is the light? Where is the shadow? Where does the object turn in space? This is such a helpful exercise, especially for watercolor painters, because if the values don't work, the painting won't really work either. In watercolor, fixing that later can be very difficult. This is also why I use value studies in my own work for composition planning. Most of the time, I'll do a quick graphite thumbnail sketch first, because if the composition doesn't work in graphite, it probably won't magically work in watercolor. Value helps you solve those problems early, before the paint ever touches the paper. And here's what I notice after students start doing value studies. They become less afraid of shadows, less afraid of contrast, and less afraid of ruining a painting. Because they begin to understand what those dark shapes are actually doing. They're creating form, they're creating depth, and they're making the painting feel alive. Once the student really gets value, their confidence grows. If you want to practice this, here's a simple challenge. Day 1, try a simple object using just 3 values. Day 2, Try a 5-value study of an apple or a pear. Day 3, paint a monochromatic version using one color. Sepia works beautifully, but it can be any color. Keep it simple. Don't worry about perfection. Train your eye. If your paintings have ever felt flat, come back to value, because value is what creates depth. Value is what creates form. And value is what helps your paintings come alive. Remember, value does all the work and color gets all the glory. Thanks for painting with me today, and I'll see you in the next video. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe.